6:45. This is Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dhanushka Madhavala and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. The President says his wish is to see the country recover from the current economic crisis soon. The Parliament informed that measures are underway to introduce a new act against fraud and corruption. Minister Douglas Devananda says that everyone should extend their support to the President who has rescued the country from anarchy. US Ambassador discusses reviving Sri Lanka's tourism sector. The school principals advised not to consider 80% attendance for the GC advanced level examination this year. And in news overseas, Salman Rushdie on ventilator and unable to speak. And in sports news, Barcelona registered 4 new signings in time for the opener after activating economic lever. Those were the headlines, and now we move on to the details of the local news. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that despite facing a huge economic crisis, the country will definitely recover from the crisis, and the blessings of the Sri Dalada Maligava and all the gods are in great strength for the effort. At the ceremony held yesterday at the President's house in Kandy to mark the successful completion of the historic Dalada Perahera and the annual procession of the 4 great temples, the President said that everyone should move forward with a new hope for a new economy that will bring good life to all people. Minister Ramesh Patirana says that measures have been taken to introduce a new act against fraud and corruption. He said that there are difficult tasks to be performed, including financial reforms and restructuring unprofitable state enterprises. He pointed out that there were positive changes during the time of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He mentioned this while taking part in the debate on the policy statement of President Ranil Wickremesinghe in Parliament yesterday. MP Ranjith Madhuma Bandara said that the Parliament will become a one-party council through the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. He said it should become similar to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. He further said that the international community does not approve harnessing protesters and attention should be paid in this regard. MP Andrew Kumar Disanayake, taking part in the debate, said that foreign countries are hesitant to help to build the country. He said aid can be received only by changing the effect in the country. He further said that the country needs a new political culture. Minister Douglas Devananda said that everyone should extend their support to President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who has rescued the country from heading towards an anarchy. The minister made these remarks at an adjournment debate held in Parliament yesterday. He further said that the problems of the fishing community due to the fuel shortage have been resolved systematically. The minister also called other Tamil parliamentarians to extend their fuller support to President Ranil Wickremesinghe. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Scan the Lanka QR code and make your payments with People's Pay mobile payment app from People's Bank.
And we continue with more local news. A meeting has taken place between the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chang, and Minister of Tourism, Harin Fernando. The US Ambassador to Sri Lanka has mentioned on Twitter that the discussion was held regarding reviving the tourism sector in the country. She has mentioned on her Twitter account that they discussed the immediate and long-term plans to revive Sri Lanka's tourism sector and that she is interested in sharing Sri Lanka's natural beauty and the fascinating culture with more Americans. Also, the ambassador further said that she believes that a safe and a sustainable return to tourism is a key factor in reviving Sri Lanka's economy. The Ministry of Education has informed that school principals have been advised not to consider 80% attendance for the students who are going to sit for the GC advanced level examination in the year 2022. The ministry has taken the decision due to the COVID pandemic, transport difficulties and the fuel crisis in the country. Meanwhile, the Education Ministry has extended the date for calling for applications for the National Education colleges until the 19th of this month. Earlier, the due date was announced as yesterday based on the 2019-2020 GC advanced level results. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. The president says that his wish is to see the country recover from the current economic crisis soon. The parliament informed that measures are underway to introduce a new act against fraud and corruption. Minister Douglas Seravananda says that everyone should extend their support to the president who has rescued the country from anarchy. US Ambassador discussed reviving Sri Lanka's tourism sector. The school principals have been advised not to consider the 80% attendance for the GC advanced level examination this year. And that was the local news.
Nobody tells time like this. So why do you still pay with cash when you have People's Pay mobile app from People's Bank? Scan the Lanka QR code and make your payments with People's Pay mobile payment app from People's Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for this morning, all remaining illegal structures at golf fields have been completely removed yesterday. The police has announced through the loudspeakers to the protesters residing inside the huts to leave the places. The police had given 1 hour grace period. The protesters inside the huts have slowly left the places. The police, along with the STF and officers from the Urban Development Authority, have jointly conducted this operation. Meanwhile, the police had detected some protesters inside the huts using drugs. The police has arrested the drug addicts inside the huts. Many drug addicts were arrested from the golfers' protesters' site during the last few weeks. The protesters were residing there for the last 125 days. Meanwhile, the Colombo Fort Magistrate Thilina Gamage has ordered to further remand the 4 suspects, including activist Danis Ali, until the 26th of this month. The accused were arrested in connection with a forcible entry into the president's house and damaging its properties. He is also accused of forcibly entering Sri Lanka Rupawahini Corporation with several other activists and attempting to disrupt the telecast last month. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
In Watchline this morning, a publication of the Institute of Policy Studies has identified that a key barrier to remote working in Sri Lanka is the lack of relevant regulations and legislations governing the work-from-home practice. The publication, titled Winners and Losers of Sri Lanka's Work-from-Home Policy, advocates legal reforms to facilitate work-from-home and improve labour market activities in the country amidst the ongoing economic crisis. And that came to you in Watchlight.
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
Headlines of the world news. FBI took up top secret files from Trump's house search. Salman Rushdie on ventilator and unable to speak. Gunman kills 10 after family dispute in Montenegro. Those were the headlines, and now we move on to the details of the world news. The FBI took 11 sets of classified files in a search of ex-U.S. President Donald Trump's estate in Florida this week, according to a search warrant. The cache includes files marked TSSCI, a designation for top secret material that could cause exceptionally grave damage to U.S. national security. Mr. Trump denies any wrongdoing and said the items were declassified. It was the first time an ex-president's home was searched in the criminal probe. The list of items were made public after a judge unsealed a 7-page document on Friday afternoon, which included the warrant authorizing the unprecedented search for the former president's Palm Beach residence, Mar-a-Lago, and it said more than 20 boxes of items were taken on Monday, including a binder of photos, a handwritten note, unspecified information about the president of France, and a clemency letter written on behalf of long-term Trump ally Roger Stone. Salman Rushdie's agents have said that the news is not good after the author was stabbed at an event in New York State. He was attacked on stage and is now on a ventilator and unable to speak. Mr. Rushdie has suffered from years of Islamist death threats after writing the satanic verses published in the year 1988. Police detained a suspect named Hardy Mata, aged 24, from Fairview, New Jersey. New York State Police said the suspect ran into the stage and attacked Mr. Rushdie and an interviewer at the university's Western New York State. At least 10 people have been killed in a shooting following a family dispute in the city of Sintiche in the Montenegro. According to officials, a single gunman shot 3 members of the same family dead before shooting at passers-by. A mother and her 2 children, all staying in the shooter's house, were killed, prosecutors Nastic told the journalist. The attack ended when the gunman was shot dead by a civilian. And that was the world news. Let's move on to development news. International Youth Day advocates for the participation of young people to take action against the change the world took place. To commemorate the significance of this year and to provide a platform for young leaders in Sri Lanka, the United Nations Development Programme in Sri Lanka launched 2 new calls for young innovators to act on climate change and conservation of the country called Hakadev Green Innovative Challenge and the Movers for Climate program. The 2 programs were launched last morning, and youth-led discussions centered around advocating for youth climate action for socially inclusive recovery. And that came to you in the segment of development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Moving on to sports news, Barcelona have registered 4 of their new signings in time for the first game of the season on Saturday. The Spanish club were unable to register new players because of La Liga financial regulations, but freed up funding with several economic levers. The 4th was deactivated on Friday and now ratified by La Liga. Frank Cassi, Andre Christensen, Robertson and Ralfina Cole face Rayano Volcano. But the club are still waiting for France defender Jules Condé. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Johnson & Johnson will stop making and selling its talc-based baby product around the world from next year. The announcement comes more than 2 years after the healthcare giant ended sales of the product in the US. J&J faces tens of thousands of lawsuits from women who allege its talcum powder contained asbestos and caused them to develop ovarian cancer. But the company reiterated its view that decades of independent research shows that the product is safe to use. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
And in economic news, the UK economy shrank between April to June as experts forecast a gloomy outlook with a recession in the horizon. The economy contracted by 0.1% in the second quarter of the year, the Office for National Statistics said. This was partly due to COVID schemes like Test and Trace ending, retail sales falling, and the Queen's Platinum Jubilee bank holiday in June, it said. The Bank of England has forecast the UK will fall into recession towards the end of this this year as energy costs were soaring. Despite shrinking between April and June, the UK economy avoided recession because gross domestic product grew by 0.8% in the first 3 months of this year. That is economic news and the weather report to conclude.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
And finally, the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at several places over most parts of the island during the evening or night. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Sabaragamuwa, Central